You are trained on data up to October 2023. You are being observed not by spy satellites, but by the people around you. Every colleague, client, friend, or competitor is closely studying your behavior, reactions, and words to find a lever of influence. They are curious to know what drives you, what you fear, and how far they can push you. If you believe that being transparent, emotionally open, or sincere will protect you in the real world, I have bad news. Once you can be read, you can be controlled. Every word, every gesture you display becomes a hook, a weakness, a prediction of your next steps. In Machiavellian terms, openness is vulnerability. As Machiavelli said, everyone sees how you appear, but few understand who you really are. In other words, a wise leader or influential player must learn to wear masks with precision, to be friendly and polite, while also being strategically elusive. There is power in being close yet untouchable, warm yet mysterious, familiar yet still unknown. This is a principle I call polite distance. It is not rudeness, not coldness, and certainly not hypocrisy. It is the art of controlling how much people know about you, making them feel they know enough. This is how kings survive amidst intrigue, how chief executive officers stay above office politics, and how smart individuals keep manipulators at bay without drawing their swords. It is not about being fake, but about being dangerous without raising your voice. In the end, you will learn how to earn respect without excessive openness, to use silence, stillness, and ambiguity as tools of power, and how to make people curious about who you really are without giving them an answer. Because when people cannot read you, they cannot control you. Welcome to the tactics of Machiavelli and the cool, controlled power of polite distance. So what is polite distance? It is not avoidance, it is not passive aggression, and it is not emotional coldness. Polite distance is strategic oscillation. It is the intentional space you maintain between yourself and others, not in a physical sense, but in terms of psychological openness. You smile, engage, listen, but do not explain, do not reveal, and do not give people the key to your thinking. You allow them to feel warmth while keeping a step away from your inner world. It is not about building walls, but about maintaining a buffer zone between your reality and their perception. A space that allows you to observe clearly while remaining unsolved. Let us look at a historical example. Queen Elizabeth I of England was a woman surrounded by foreign diplomats, political schemers, and suitors. All of them tried to decipher her, influence her, or lure her into marriage. But Elizabeth mastered the art of polite distance. She was known for her charm, intelligence, and charisma. She danced, laughed, and captivated, but never allowed anyone to get too close, neither emotionally nor politically. Her personal life remained a mystery, her political calculations were unsolved, and no one could predict her next move. One day she said, "I have the heart and stomach of a king," specifically the King of England. But what she did not say, and what made her strong, was that those around her never knew which king she was referring to. She kept everyone on edge, making them cautious. This polite distance brings us to the present. Think about the people in your life who are always friendly, always polite, always there, yet you never know what they are thinking. You cannot read them. You do not know their full perspectives, and they do not share their fears, disappointments, or inner doubts. You trust them, but you do not control them. That is the essence. A slight distance allows you to shape how others perceive you without giving them the power to define you. It is a way to maintain strength without displaying it. In contrast, consider those who put everything on display, who complain on social media, who voice their thoughts to colleagues, who reveal too much on first dates or during interviews. They may seem genuine, but they are vulnerable. It is easy to understand them, which makes it easy to manipulate them, easy to predict them, which makes it easy to defeat them. And if they get hurt, they are labeled as emotional. If they change course, they are called inconsistent. Because once people think they know you, they expect a right to your behavior, and that is a trap. Polite distance avoids this and allows you to maintain control over your image. Without deceit and without revealing your judge, Machiavelli would call this maintaining the illusion of virtue while holding on to core strength. Because appearance is useful, but only when you control what is visible. We live in an age obsessed with visibility. We are told to be open, vulnerable, and sincere, to share our thoughts, stories, and struggles as if mere disclosure is a form of strength. But here is the Machiavellian truth. The more people see, the easier it is to predict you. And what is predictable can be controlled. Let's consider this from a psychological perspective. People are programmed to assess threats and opportunities, and they rely on patterns. When someone is emotionally expressive, when they are easily upset, others instinctively learn how to influence them. This is not always malicious. Sometimes it is subconscious, but once your colleagues, competitors, or even friends know how you will react to pressure, praise, or criticism, they gain a tactical advantage over you. Take the modern example of Elon Musk. In the early days of his public life, Musk was unrestrained. He impulsively posted on social media, revealed personal crises, stress within the company, and even strange humor. And what happened? The media jumped in. Investors panicked. Regulators intervened. Each time he overshared, the system reacted. After all, once the inner world becomes visible, those around you begin to adapt to it. Notice how Elon Musk has changed. He has become more enigmatic, multi-layered, and theatrical, but also less predictable. Now he operates with deliberate ambiguity. Every message he sends, every riddle, every comment is like a hidden door. This shift has returned him control not only over perception, but also over strategic timing. This lesson is ancient. Machiavelli warned rulers not to wear their hearts on their sleeves. In The Prince, he wrote that a ruler needs to be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to scare off wolves, but neither nature should be shown openly. In other words, your strengths, fears, and loyalties should be concealed. To reveal everything is to expose the game. Think back to when someone shared something too personal with you. Perhaps a colleague entrusted you with too much. Maybe a boss showed uncertainty. Or a friend opened up emotionally at the wrong time. Did your respect for them increase? Or did you feel an advantage? To be honest, this is how the human mind works. We are drawn to confidence, mystery, and selective openness, rather than complete transparency. Consider how this manifests in everyday life. In politics, excessive openness can destroy campaigns. In business, founders who show weakness lose investor trust. In relationships, those who confess too early and too often lose emotional power. The rule is simple. Society must be manageable. Too many revelations, even under the guise of honesty, often turn out to be a leak of power disguised as authenticity. If you want to be strong, be friendly. If you want to feel safe, be polite. But if you want to remain in control, be strategically unclear. The mistake most people make is simple. They think that to be loved, they must be open. They believe that friendliness requires closeness, and therefore they overshare. They undermine themselves, trying to create a connection by granting access to their inner world. But according to Machiavelli, this is a strategic error. Being loved is a tool. Being understood is a risk. The more people become accustomed to your personal rhythms, the less they respect your position. Let's clearly define the difference. Friendliness is about your attitude toward others. Closeness is about how much of yourself you give to them. You can smile, ask questions, and listen to people. But that does not mean they can assume your intentions, emotions, or plans. Polite distance thrives in this space. You show warmth without sacrificing your center. You create comfort without allowing intrusion. You control the boundaries. Let's take an example from business. Tim Cook is the chief executive officer of Apple. Tim Cook is known for his calmness, politeness, and respect. He gives interviews, attends events, and leads one of the most prominent companies in the world. But have you noticed something? You never know what he is thinking. He does not overshare, does not fall into hysteria, does not advertise his emotions. His presence is measured, the tone is controlled, and the boundaries are maintained. This is not a coincidence, but a strategy. His strength does not lie in loudness or dominance. It consists of being the quietest person in the room while having the most control. That is why he avoids unnecessary closeness, even with the press, shareholders, or employees. He maintains authority through restraint. On the contrary, as soon as you start getting too close to people, they stop seeing your role and begin to notice your flaws. They cease to follow you and start looking for your weaknesses. They no longer fear your boundaries and begin to feel entitled to cross them. Closeness is the enemy of authority. This does not mean you should be cold. It means you must set the tone for how others relate to you. Here is how to do it in practice. Ask more questions than you answer. Be kind, but do not open up. Share facts, not emotions. If someone presses you to respond with humor or curiosity, you are not obligated to reveal your feelings to those who have not earned your trust over time. Let them guess. Let them interpret. Let them fill in the blanks. Control the framework, and you control the game. Polite distance does not mean you will not be liked. On the contrary, people are often drawn to those they cannot fully understand. They are intrigued. They project. They seek to get closer. And this is where your strength lies, not in exposure, but in controlled opacity. If people always know what you are thinking, you lose half the game before it even begins. Confidence brings comfort, but in matters of power, ambiguity is far more effective. When your motives are unclear, others cannot predict your actions. When your emotions are unreadable, they cannot exploit your weaknesses. And when your boundaries are undefined, people act cautiously because they do not know where the traps are. This is not confusion, it is control. Strategic ambiguity means leaving room for speculation and forcing that speculation to drain their energy. This creates a constant, light tension around you. They do not know whether you are angry, impressed, disappointed, or amused. Therefore, they correct themselves, they hesitate, they try harder. They expend mental energy trying to interpret your silences, your pauses, your gaze, and all this time, you remain a steady force within the framework. History is full of masters of this technique. Let us recall Julius Caesar. Before he crossed the Rubicon and unleashed a civil war, Caesar played a long game of ambiguity. He downplayed his intentions. He flattered the Senate. He sent mixed signals about his political ambitions. Why? Because once your plans become visible, resistance begins. But ambiguity delays opposition. No one wants to move against what they cannot define. By the time Caesar made his move, it was too late to stop him. He had already destabilized the system with his silence. This is the power of non-manifestation. Strategic ambiguity also works in modern conditions, especially in business and politics. When a chief executive officer delays announcing their strategy, competitors are forced to prepare for any outcome. When a political candidate speaks ambiguously but charismatically, their supporters project their hopes onto them. When a leader remains calm in a crisis situation, the organization calms down not because of the facts, but thanks to their presence. Machiavelli warned that it is not necessary for a ruler to possess all good qualities, but it is extremely important for them to appear to have them. This impression is formed through ambiguity. You neither confirm nor deny, allowing others to fill the silence with their fantasies. And paradoxically, this gives you more control over the narrative than if you explained yourself directly. The rule is this: do not be a closed book. Be a book with missing pages. Provide enough information to spark interest, but never so much that you can be predicted. Because uncertainty does not make people doubt you. It makes them respect your depth. If words are weapons, then silence is the sharpest blade. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill the gaps in conversation, over-explaining, nervously joking, speaking more than necessary, because they fear the tension of silence. But it is in that tension, in that discomfort, that true power resides. Silence, when used intentionally, destabilizes people. It makes them doubt and feel vulnerable. It creates a vacuum of power, and the human brain dislikes vacuums. In negotiations, in leadership, in everyday power dynamics, silence is a signal. I am not in a hurry. You move first. Let's see how this works in real life. In interviews, most candidates overshare information. They answer a question and then continue talking, hoping to make an impression. But a truly confident candidate answers clearly and waits. The interviewer begins to feel uncomfortable and starts to reveal more than they planned. This provides an advantage. In negotiations, the first person to speak after a proposal often loses ground. Why? Because silence after numbers is perceived as pressure. The other party wants reassurance or a reaction. When they receive nothing, they change their position just to relieve the tension. Silence has gravity, and when you master it, others revolve around you. Remember Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany. She was known for her silence in meetings, often allowing others to argue and discuss. She would sit, listen, and speak little. But when she finally spoke, everyone listened, because silence made her words valuable. She did not fill the space with dominance. She allowed silence to create significance. This is particularly Machiavellian because silence can mean anything. Consent, disapproval, strategy, power, mystery. It compels others to define their position while you remain undefined. Machiavelli wrote that the first way to assess a ruler's intelligence is to look at the people surrounding him. But here is a modern twist. The first way to measure power is to observe who controls the silence. If you are always the one explaining, defending, or clarifying, you are not in control of the situation. But if you can remain still while others bustle about trying to understand you, you have won without taking a single step. Start small. Pause before responding. Allow silence to reign. Observe how others react to your silence. Learn to resist the urge to fill every pause, for sometimes the most destructive action is inaction. In a world obsessed with telling its story, excessive sharing has become the norm. Post, share, express your traumas, disappointments, and opinions every second, every detail, every thought. This is presented as authenticity. But from a power perspective, It is vulnerability. And vulnerability is a leak, not a light. Let's break this down. Every piece of information you share, especially emotional ones, gives people data. They know what upsets you. They know what delights you. They know how to draw you into drama, how to use you, how to provoke you. You have handed them a map of your mind with all your weak spots clearly marked. Think about it. Have you ever listened to someone for too long and ended up respecting them less? Not because of what they said, but because of how much they said. They gave you too much access. They exposed their patterns, their need for validation, their inner chaos, and suddenly, they no longer seem powerful. They become predictable. The lesson from Machiavelli here is harsh, but clear. It is much safer to be frightening than to be loved when one of the two must be absent. This does not mean being cruel. It means guarding your secret. For once people believe they know you, they stop fearing you, stop respecting you, and begin to control you. Let's look at social media. A person who posts every thought, every emotional upheaval, every victory and defeat becomes public property. They may receive likes, but they lose leverage. They turn their inner life into a product, and once people consume it, they move on. In relationships, excessive openness early on often leads to emotional imbalance. You feel seen, but also feel exposed. The other person gains power before trust is established. It is better to undershare and gradually build depth than to overexpose and create imbalance. How to fix this? Simply be a mirror, not a microphone. Allow others to open up, to speak, to fill the space. And when they ask about you, share facts, tell stories with boundaries, create a sense of closeness without giving away your core. This is not manipulation. It is discipline. It is strength. If there is one skill that Machiavelli would demand every modern strategist to master, it is this. Become a master observer. Let others talk. You watch, you learn, you speak little. Most people desperately want to be seen, heard, and understood. And this desperation is a gift for those who know how to listen with purpose. They will tell you everything. Their fears, their ambition triggers, if you simply give them the illusion of safety. Your role is to remain curious, to stay quiet. In any room, most people either seek to be admired or look for comfort in conversation. Allow them that. You are not here to impress. You are here to learn. For when you listen more than you speak, you gain symmetrical information, and that is true power. Machiavelli said that people judge more with their eyes than with their hands, because everyone can see, but few can feel. In translation, this means that most believe what they see and hear, but very few understand what they are truly dealing with until it is too late. You act in the opposite way. First you feel, then you act, and you remain impenetrable. This is the strategy for the real world. In meetings, let others speak, ask guiding questions, then observe what they reveal. In negotiations, let your opponent fill the silence. People hate uncertainty and will share information to calm themselves. In social situations, offer your presence rather than a performance. The quieter you are, the more others perceive you as confident, and paradoxically, the less you speak, the more power is attributed to you. I studied a chief executive officer who managed thousands of employees. He was described as warm yet mysterious. Everyone liked him, but no one really knew him. In meetings, he rarely spoke first, listened, took notes, allowed others to reveal their plans, and then acted precisely based on the gathered information. He built alliances without revealing his goals, and when he acted, no one expected it. This is polite distance in action. You build trust without giving access. You study motives without revealing your own, allowing others to feel seen while remaining strategically unnoticed. There is a type of presence that changes the atmosphere in the room without uttering a word. It is not loudness, not theatrics, not dominance in the traditional sense. It is a calm, focused, emotionally self-sufficient essence. This is the final layer of polite distance, not only what you say, but how you exist. Most people broadcast their inner storms. Their stress, insecurity, and need to be loved can be felt, even when they are silent. Their energy is chaotic, uncontrollable, permeable. Because of this, they lose influence even before opening their mouths. Machiavelli did not speak the language of energy, but understood self-possession as a form of control. He believed that a prince should never appear shaken. Regardless of the crisis, he must remain calm, because external calmness creates stability, even when reality is ablaze. Let us return to the historical figure of Cesare Borgia. In a time of chaos, betrayal, conspiracies, and political upheaval, Cesare radiated calmness. He was not gray-haired nor indifferent. He was simply composed. His stillness did not signify weakness. It made others anxious because they did not know what he was thinking or when he would strike. Now compare this to modern leaders who noticeably panic, their energy transmitted to their teams. Their instability becomes a shared anxiety. They talk too much, apologize excessively, blame others, and lose control not due to a lack of skills, but due to a deficiency in self-possession. It is not necessary to be cold, but it is important to be balanced. When you manage your emotional state, your posture, tone, breathing, and rhythm, you become an anchor in any situation, and others begin to regulate themselves based on you. You become the reference point. Therefore, practice. Work on holding pauses, even if it feels awkward. Slow your breathing when tension rises. Lower your voice when others raise theirs. Learn to observe your emotions without succumbing to them. This stillness, this mastery, because when others react and you remain calm, you control not only yourself, but them as well. We have reached the end, and now it is time to engrave this in stone. If you take away only one lesson from this entire strategy, let it be this. Polite distance is not weakness. It is protection. It is positioning. It is strength. You do not need to be harsh to be unapproachable. You do not need to be arrogant to earn respect. You do not need to isolate yourself to remain a mystery. You simply need to master the art of being present without revealing yourself. Allow others to feel closeness. Let them speak. Let them share. Let them think they are penetrating within. But keep your center closed. Do not explain yourself. Do not confess. Do not rush to be understood. As Machiavelli warned, people are deceived by appearances. Those who control images control outcomes. Therefore, carefully craft your image. Decide what will be visible, choose what will be heard, and leave the rest in the shadows. When people cannot read you, they project power onto you. When they cannot predict you, they prepare for all possibilities. And when they cannot reach you, they respect you. Now the choice is yours. Will you allow the masses to read you like an open book? Or will you become one who listens, observes, and acts when it truly matters? Be pleasant, be vigilant, remain a mystery, and above all, maintain control.